Thank you to the sponsor of this video, Accessible Switzerland, also known as Claire and George. They invited me to come to Switzerland and experience their accessible itinerary. This was a hosted trip, so they hosted me for this experience. We went all around the country, my partner and I. In part one, we're going to talk about Bern. I did not know that Bern was the capital of Switzerland. For some reason, because we always hear about Zurich, I thought it was Zurich, but no, the capital is Bern. When we first arrived into the country, we came into Zurich, and then we took a train to Bern. So that train that we took to Bern was under a pass called the Golden Pass, where we as tourists were able to travel on any intercity train at any time, like unlimited. And you don't have to reserve ahead of time the train, which was so nice because there were times that I got tired and I wanted to leave on a train that was an hour later than originally planned. But with the Golden Pass, I don't have to worry about that. I just show up to the train station and look on the map and see, on the, I guess the board, and see where I want to go, and I can hop on a train. All they do is scan the QR code for your pass when the conductor comes around, and that's it. The Golden Pass is also available or to be used on ferries and boats. We have just arrived to Bern, the first stop on the itinerary with Accessible Switzerland. We're gonna walk to the hotel, and so far, one thing that I'm noticing is that the train system in this region is on point. Very informational. Our train was exactly on time, and it gave a nice little chime when we were almost there, so everyone starts to get ready. And yeah, it's very organized. So let's start to check out Bern. We arrived and immediately I felt like I was in a historic city, and come to find out that yes, the entire old part is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The entire historical center area, which is really, really cool because then the architecture is preserved. The hotel was really modern and comfortable. They even had a little rooftop where we caught some views, and we had breakfast every morning, which this one had a buffet. So thank you to the hotel. And also, when we checked into the hotel in Bern, the hotels have a plan where you get then free public transit in Bern, and you get connected to an app as well, or you can just have access another way on your phone. So that's a really great benefit for travelers. I love that they've thought of that and are encouraging people to use public transit. We were walking around before we did our first experience, which was a guided walking tour, and I got a cafe latte. We started to see how beautiful Bern was, and we started to notice that there were a lot of fountains in the city. But when our tour guide came to meet us, she explained that Switzerland has clean water available, and they're known for their fountains. So there were over, I think, 200 fountains in the city of Bern. All of them are really decorated, a lot of them. Some are more ordinary, but they still have some decoration, and then some are more over the top with statues and colorful things. So we were near the baby eater, which was quite an interesting statue to look at, and there are different legends and stories about it. Great landmarks to have. We're near the baby eater. So the walking tour was really great. We got to get some history. We got to see the parliament and walk a little bit, get the view, because it's so beautiful there. There's a river that goes around the old town, and the old town is like a peninsula that's protected on two sides by the river, and then on the land side they had constructed a wall, and it had multiple walls back in the day. We enjoyed a rooftop experience where we met with people from Bern's tourism board, and it was so lovely to talk to them. They have such a passion for their city, and this restaurant was called Nido, We took elevators up, so that was accessible, and we got to see a nice city view. Isn't this a beautiful view? The evening time was also another adventure because we went to a restaurant that was below a huge bridge, and it was right by the water. So, and I'm gonna hopefully not mispronounce the name of the river Aire. Green. The water was green, and there's a special reason that it's green. It's just the composition. I think it's the minerality of it. It's stunning. It looks like you're looking at a storybook. So this restaurant has the views of the water, and there's a little kind of mini waterfall area. So that's the place to enjoy the views, have a drink, and just enjoy some food. So that was our evening. Now, day 2 in Bern was one that we did ourselves. We were just exploring and following the itinerary, which was nice because as a disabled person, it is nice to move at my own pace and decide when I'm going to do something or when I need a break. So that was very accessible. First, we started by going to the Museum of Communication. The Museum of Communication has a lot of interactivity, which is one of the reasons that we were invited to go, to see the touch exhibits that they're doing, to see how they're engaging visitors and making their museum fun. The tour guide, or the person that met us, works at the museum. It was so nice and welcoming. She allowed me to get inside an old bus, which was also a delivery system for the mail, because when you would ride this bus up into the mountains, then the mail delivery would just be on the bus as well. And we saw some historic other ways of delivering mail, different vehicles, because originally the museum was the Museum for the Postal Service, but now it's expanded its offerings and its focus. I'm about to get into a bus that's from 1939. It used to transport people and mail to the mountains. So it's very cool that I can get inside. I've already looked at how I get in safely. I've mapped out my pathway. So you're gonna see me go into the bus smoothly, but that's only because I've studied the steps where I can grab my hand and how I can get in. One activity that we really enjoyed was there was a station where you could write a message and then send it up in these tubes that go up to the ceiling, and then it comes out in another area of that floor. And very similar to, like, if you remember back in the day when you needed to make a deposit in a bank and you would drive up and you could send everything in a tube to the teller inside the bank. It was kind of like that. So I wrote my message. Of course, what did I write? I wrote blindness is a spectrum, and then sent it in there. And I had no idea where it was coming out because I had not scouted that out beforehand. But my partner started following where the tubes were, and he caught it. Even when he lost it, he found it again. And then we saw where it came out, and there were a bunch of children there on a school field trip. So they were the ones who got my message. They opened it, and I was like, I hope they're learning. Apparently one of them said, oh, that's for her. Like, no, that's for you. That's for you to learn. Blindness is a spectrum. So we had some fun there. They had some photo stations and different things. And we appreciated anytime that we can see museum accessibility. That's really fun, because I think it's one of the easiest places that you can make accessible. You have kind of controlled indoor environment, and I think you're reaching people of all ages in a museum. So I love to visit them and see what they're doing and encourage them to do more. After we did the Museum of Communication, then we went to a park, to a restaurant called the Rosengarten. And the Rosengarten is up in a very high elevation, so you get a stunning view of the city. And plus you have a rose garden right there. So you're in kind of this natural environment, very relaxed in the park. The service was very quick. We got to taste a bunch of kind of international dishes there. The menu is pretty eclectic. We had covered space because some of their tables were out in the sunshine, but they had lots of covered space as well. So that was great, and just relax and enjoy the view. Then we walked down from where we were to the riverbank, and that was a great and easy walk. When we got to the river, then we started walking right and kind of alongside the river, and we found a path that we could just be right by the water. This was so much fun because then we started to see the people that jump in the water and like hang out in the current. They're swimming, yes, but they're actually like floating because they have these waterproof bags that everyone uses. They put their stuff in there, tie it up, roll it up, and then they launch themselves. So the current apparently can be dangerous sometimes, but if you know how to do it and you've been living in Bern your whole life, you're used to it. So we had so much fun. And right here, we're at a point where people are jumping in and they're getting out. And the current is really swift and it takes them down the river. They're swimming or kind of floating. Then we went to the Botanical Gardens and we got to see how they constructed. It was up a hill. So we were going at like different levels of a terrace is what it was like. We're in the Botanical Gardens now. And we have been climbing stairs, and then we found the ramps, yay, for accessibility. Basically constructed at different levels of elevation, kind of like on terraces. And so the map also was scaled up like that. That was interesting. And we're looking for the cafe. But so far we've seen the orangery, we've seen the nursery, and then we've seen this cute pond here. Of course, I had to have my tea moment at a cafe called Cafe Fleuri, which was in the Botanical Gardens. I had a very nice oolong tea, sitting at a table where I could still see the river, the water, and surrounded by plants. That was a very nice relaxation moment. The dinner we had on our last night in Bern was really delicious because we got to taste some local favorites. So one of the things that we got to taste, the potato dish is called rosti, R-O-S-T-I, and I think one of those letters has a special character on it. That's a base for different things where people usually have it with like sausages or some kind of meat like that. I didn't have it with that because I don't eat meat, but mine, I had a mushroom kind of stew with it, which was really good and very tasty. Another thing that this restaurant was known for was their fried apple slices. So we had that for dessert. As soon as we saw that in the menu, we're like, I guess we have to try it. Okay, they say it's their specialty. We can't leave without that. And that came with a chocolate dipping sauce, but you can pick, I think, a specific sauce that you want. They had a few options. We also saw a tactile map behind the Parliament, which was great to see scale models being used. I believe it was a scale model of the Parliament. So that gives access to people like me who might want to see something on a smaller scale. I really have to be far away from things to take them in. But a scale model, I can just look at and take in everything and quickly. But kids love it. Other people like scale models for many different reasons. So I love promoting them. We're so lucky that we had the whole day out in beautiful Bern. After spending time in Bern, I can say that it felt accessible in terms of public transportation. We did take public transportation and it was easy to use. It was easy to walk around. And definitely would go back to Bern. It was not overwhelming in terms of the number of people. It was very active with lots of restaurants, and the history was beautiful to learn about and witness. I didn't even speak about the cathedral and all the, I guess, changes in the country that Bern has been a part of and been witness to. If you're visiting Switzerland or you want to visit Switzerland, you have to include Bern on your itinerary. You will fall in love. Even just walking around, you can walk across bridges where you get stunning views of the river. And if you're adventurous and you want to also go in the river, you don't have to go by yourself. You can get a guide or you can go in on a boat or a raft, and there are organized excursions if you want to test out what it's like to float on that current. Stay tuned because I have 2 more videos coming out about my trip with Accessible Switzerland, because this trip was way too exciting to include in just one video. So keep watching. The for all the rest of the videos in the series. Thank you again to Accessible Switzerland and Claire and George for hosting me. If you want to see more videos on inclusive and accessible travel, subscribe to BlindishLatina and let me know all your questions in the comments, and I will see you next time.